Welcome to the morning meditation.
But actually, did you know that anybody could be listening to this at any point in time? Someone could be listening to this at night before they go to bed. They could be listening in their car. They have no idea what day it is. They could be listening to this a year from now.
Hey, you're coming hard, eh?
I'm just saying.
Coffee's
we always say good morning,
Good
but
morning, yeah.
This could be any time of
Good
day
day.
for you.
Good evening.
Just wherever you are.
I was just going to say,
thanks for listening.
You look really good today. Your hair is very Viking-esque, like where it's like, like tight at top and flowy in the bottom. You know, one thing that I've learned, like out of my 40 some odd years of life
experience,
the one thing that I've learned is it's a fine line to notice things about other people. Really, when I notice things, it comes across as like I'm trying to compliment, but it can actually cause problems. So I'm very careful. So like one thing is like, oh, so you're pregnant. When are you expecting? Like never say that. So if I'm not going to say that and I notice things, then I shouldn't say anything about your hair. Like even if you got a new haircut. So I'm very careful on the hesitant on the compliment.
It's important. I think it's important to learn that we don't need to comment on people's appearance.
Yeah. So true. True.
I think that is a valuable life hack.
Have you ever done that? When are you expecting? I've done it once.
I have the worst.
I touched their belly too. I'm just kidding.
Okay, I just want to say that's a hard and fast rule that you should never touch anyone's belly, even if they are super pregnant.
There was a moment of, I could tell that they were cussing me out in their head, but I felt like they were a little bit they were just caught off guard. And so what I've learned is don't ever touch the pregnant person belly.
Imagine if a stranger came up to you and was like, "Oh, John, you've been working out." You'd be fine with it, but most people are not. You're weird. You're such a weirdo.
That'd be.
That is an important life hack.
I'm going to invite people to do that.
If we could give you one tip, don't comment on other people. It's a suggestion.
It's a good suggestion. Yeah, don't comment on appearance, on people's
commenting
appearance.
On people's appearance.
Yeah. But yeah, like I think people take things the wrong way, and that's one thing I've learned is try not to focus on appearance. Or like, hey, did you get new sunglasses? Or like stuff like that is an appearance. So it's a fine line, a horrible dance. It's a mud wrestling, really, is what it is.
It can be.
Yeah, just don't get into the arena.
Puts your foot in your mouth all the time.
I feel that somebody needs to hear this because I need to hear it. And so this morning I woke up and I realized my revelation was that my ego and the enemy are trying to separate me from the love of my life, the love of my community, the love of my program, and the love of God through criticizing, judgment, and my ego tries to put me on a pedestal and everybody else bothers me. And if only they did these things, then, like that's what my ego does. And so my ego tries to separate. The opposite of addiction is connection to each other, connection to the fellowship, and connection to God. And so my ego tries to actually separate me from that. Yeah, through judgment and criticism.
My
and
ego
guilt and shame
tries to separate me through self-pity, feeling sorry for myself, feeling like a victim, feeling like you're always against me, that I'm not good enough, and criticism and judgment and
that ego I find it builds every day. And that's the beautiful thing about our program is that we say that we have to have daily conscious contact with God
every single day. I could wake up feeling sorry for myself again.
Yeah,
every day.
Did you do that this morning?
No.
Are you sure?
No,
I did. Because there is a water and sewer system that they believe that they can run. The Pearson Airport is in front of my window, and it's like
at 6 a.m.
sewer. It's 6 a.m. like for 2 days straight. So he got up and shut the window and said, like, I need more sleep. But I got out of bed for my exercise. I'm just going to be honest for myself.
You did really well.
Let's get into our morning meditation. Thanks for joining us.
Morning.
Lydia, how you doing? Great to see you.
We're gonna
On
read.
this virtual world, we are going to entertain our morning contemplative meditation, where we're going to take a idea of the spiritual life, maybe a principle, and then apply it through our day, and just let God speak to us through that. So this one is starts with, without faith in God, I am like a storm-tossed ship without a rudder. Have you ever been in a boat that didn't really have a rudder? Do you understand that?
I have a
A rubber
I
dinghy?
have an inflatable kayak
Yeah.
that it is best to use on calm days.
And you have an insert.
It has a rudder. Is that a rudder?
Yeah.
It has a fin that we click in. And one time a storm came up and we were going, so we wound up going like under a bridge because we're like, oh, it was a bad storm. Let's go hide under the bridge. There was like 5 or 6 of us. Let's hide under the bridge. Well, you can't stay under that bridge because it's a channel and the
Mhm.
water rushes through the bridge. Even though it doesn't feel like there's like strong current in the channel,
Pushes
once
you
you
right
get to
out.
the bridge, it's this anyway. So after the storm passed and we were drenched, we tried to go back the way that we need to go through the bridge, and one of us couldn't make it.
Oh no.
And it's like you had no rudder. Like she just was paddling and she just kept going.
I've been in a paddle boat in the North Channel. That was a horrible experience because a storm came up and currents. You don't know currents until you're in one. And our rudder did not help us at all, and we had very little power. And if you're in big waves and your boat gets sideways, oh my goodness,
You're toast.
So you need a little bit of power to face the waves, and you need a rudder to point you in the right direction. So that's the idea that we get this morning is, without faith in God, I am like a storm-tossed ship without a rudder. I am flung from one trouble to another. However bravely I may battle the elements, my own strength and wisdom are not enough. All of us need something to cling to with absolute confidence. If I have been disillusioned by disappointments or have been let down by someone I trusted, it makes me feel as though I were alone and vulnerable in a hostile world. I will not deprive myself of God's help and guidance. I see it at the work of a 12-step program as we share in the fellowship, share knowledge, courage, and hope with each other. Basically, we need each other, but my ego tries to separate me. Confidence and dignity are restored to us by the knowledge that we are God's children. Today's reminder. If my faith has been dimmed by disappointment, I can begin to regain it by clinging to spiritual ideas like the one expressed in the Serenity Prayer. We did that one a little while ago. This living philosophy will give me a secure foundation of faith. And here's our quote. For we walk by faith and not by sight. That's out of 2 Corinthians. Beautiful. The big thing that I pick up on is that I have to be convinced. I don't need you to convince me of something.
Right.
I need to be convinced that there is God and he will give me power and solve all of my problems.
You could be super convinced of something, and you could tell me every single day, which you do.
Yeah.
For years.
Yeah.
And I don't listen. I don't do it.
But we can sell people. Like, there are some really good salesmen. I don't know if you've seen salesmen, but the real high-end salesmen, they can convince you of this type of water, this type of medication, this type of nutrients. And they're like, yeah, I want them. But if I'm not convinced myself, then I'm just being sold on an idea. And if I'm not sold out to it and that it's going to be beneficial to me, then I'll stop doing it. So I actually have to be convinced for myself that there is a power greater than myself. His name is God, and he has an outboard motor, a rudder system, and directions to get me through every storm.
But that's not where you started.
I started at a homeless shelter.
That's not at all where you started. I don't think you have to be convinced of all of those things to that extent at the beginning. I think you could just be convinced that there's like a glimmer of a
No,
power.
I have to be convinced that there is a power that's going to solve all my problems.
But what about the
That
person who's
doesn't
like,
mean,
well, I'm not sure. What if God's not a he? What if, like,
but
I'm
that's
just
not the
saying,
point. The point isn't to figure the power
that's
out.
what I'm
The
saying.
point is to believe in the power that is going to solve all of my problems.
That's all I'm saying.
I don't even have to know how
It doesn't have to be
he,
to that
she,
extent,
they, yeah, like I don't have to figure it out. That's not
that there's a little glimmer of a power greater than me.
that on my own
God.
power. Me playing God does not work.
Yeah.
That's where
I
I
get
started.
that.
That's
Yeah.
where we all start. It's like it's whatever's happening. It's not working for me.
Yeah. I just became convinced that my way sucked and I was really not good at running my life.
And then our ego will use God to hide from God. Our ego will say that, once I'm saved, I'm free, and that's not necessarily true. And our ego rebuilds and separates us from the love of God. So there is a God that will solve all of our problems. You don't have to have a theology and a Bible school to tell you everything about that. We just have to come to believe in that power, and it's by faith and not by sight. But when I put my belief in this God, I'm going to have the benefits and reap the promises of recovery.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I really like this line. Confidence and dignity are restored to us by the knowledge that we are God's children. And I think that there's something so powerful about that, because I can get stuck in this really negative headspace of, oh, wow, I've done this terrible job of my life, or I've
Mm-hmm.
made all these bad decisions, or how do I keep getting myself into this problem and that problem?
Mm.
And I think that the in the idea that actually I am God's child, and that his heart is aching as much as my heart is aching,
Mm-hmm.
and that his hope and his longing is to restore me, that his love just wants to like wrap around me
Mm-hmm.
and walk with me out of the circumstances that I find myself in, as opposed to like what I pictured was this guy that was like shaking his finger at
Mm-hmm.
me and just so displeased and like, oh, you really messed up this time. That's the picture that I always had,
Mm-hmm.
until I got to a new place of like, actually, no, God loves me and wants something so different for
Mm-hmm.
me. And he's going to give me the power to walk that out.
I like in the steps where it doesn't tell you exactly all about God, but in step 3, it says we turn our will and our life to the care of God. So we have a caring, nurturing, father-like
Mm-hmm.
God
Mm-hmm.
that has all the responsibility. We're the children. And I have to be convinced that my life run on my power is like a ship
Without a rudder.
without a rudder. All right, guys, have a great weekend. Is it Thanksgiving weekend?
Yeah,
It's freaking Thanksgiving weekend.
it is.
Happy Thanksgiving. Have
Happy
fun.
Thanksgiving.
May you feel the rudder and the power of God in your life today. And I guess today I really want to understand and check my ego and let God dissemble that and trust in him. All right. Have a great long weekend. Keep the peace, be of good behavior, and